Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, depending where you are. It is my pleasure to welcome you to our Picterra product webinar. At least once a quarter, at minimum once a quarter, we take this opportunity to share some latest developments that we do with the platform, new features that we release, or as it is the case today, we also like to get a bit of a deep dive into a specific feature or a capability. So today we will focus on Picterra and Esri ArcGIS Pro integration. My name is Monika Lepkowska, and I am a product marketing manager here at Picterra. It will be my pleasure to kind of kick off the session and also to take care of the a short Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Joining me today as our key speaker and presenter is Luke. Hi, Luke.
Hi, everybody.
We can also advance the slide so that everybody knows can read your name properly, exactly, if I misspell it. So it's Luke Hopkins. He's our customer success manager. A few more words about him. So he's engaging and talking to our customers on a daily basis. Before joining Picterra, Luke was part of the customer success team at Esri in the UK, and he's joining us today from the UK. A few words maybe on a little bit of our relationship with Esri. So, I mean, Picterra has been part of the startup program at Esri. And then at the beginning of September this year, we have become a silver partner. And a few weeks after that, so a few weeks before now, we've also made our platform add-in available on the Picterra marketplace. And this is why we are taking this opportunity today to dive into more details in that integration. A few words about the agenda, and then I'll give it over to Luke. We will just do a quick about Picterra introduction, just a few words about the company and our product, and then Luke will dive straight in on the Picterra and ArcGIS integration. So he'll actually provide a kind of a hands-on guidance through with an exemplary workflow, an exemplary use case on how you can use the systems together. That will be the main parts of the session, and after that I'll just sum up what we believe are the main benefits and key takeaways from the session, and also to make sure that we share exactly how you can get started. The whole session, I think we're aiming at about 30 to 40 minutes, so we would like to take the last couple of minutes also for a Q&A. Please submit your questions in the little chat box. Please submit them to me. I'll collect them and scroll through them throughout the presentation, and then I hope that we can get to as many of them as possible at the end. And I think with that, I can hand over to Luke.
So I've seen some familiar names come into the lobby, but for those that aren't as familiar with Picterra, I wanted to start by just giving a bit of a background to who we are and what we do. So Picterra was founded in 2016 in Lausanne, Switzerland, and has since grown into a global operation which empowers our customers to achieve more with their Earth observation imagery. Picterra itself and the platform allows you to build custom machine learning models for object detection and land classification. And this is all run off of our cloud native infrastructure, allowing you to run your production models at scale with ease. And throughout this presentation, I'm going to be showing a little bit of the platform, a little bit of the plugin, and then as Monica mentioned, we're going to kind of move on to the benefits and how that works. Now, before I jump into the demos, I wanted to just highlight some of the capabilities that Picterra platform can bring to you, and then, like I mentioned, these are some of the things that I'll be demoing later on in the presentation. So kind of the first thing I wanted to highlight is the ability to kind of manage your data and keep all of your Earth observation imagery in one place, and this allows you to kind of group into different projects and specifically kind of supporting you to stay organized in your day-to-day work. You can create and deploy machine learning models at scale. So once you've built these models, you can then run them across different projects, both in your individual work and share them across your organization with various colleagues and different teams as well. So everyone can work together on using these models. The ability to kind of harness the power of MLOps allows you to automate some of the repetitive work. So it reduces the amount of time spent doing typically some of the more tedious and often time-consuming tasks to allow you to focus on other areas that you might have less time for at the moment. By utilizing the API and the integration, so kind of part of the reason that we're on this call today to look at the Esri API and integration, but we also have the ability to kind of utilize other APIs and integrations as well. So we have more on offer that you kind of have access to, including a Python library and things like that. By combining the deep learning and operational know-how within your organization, by collaborating to produce models more efficiently so multiple people can be working on the same model or the same project to get to your results more effectively. And finally, presenting compelling results. So the analysis undertaken with Picterra can be visualized within our out-of-the-box reports or be further manipulated by integrating into your ArcGIS workflows in this scenario. So Picterra itself is an industry-agnostic platform, so it can be utilized by any company with a need to detect objects or segment land using Earth observation imagery. So this means, and I won't go through all of the ones on the screen, but whether you're in forestry and you want to measure, say, carbon credits or monitor bug infestations, or perhaps you work in the mining industry and you want to monitor the seasonal water bodies to ensure both employee safety and kind of prevent equipment damage. It really gives you the platform to explore multiple different use cases for different industries. And if you're interested in understanding more of the potential use cases, then we have a host of customer stories and industry applications on our website. Now to jump into the Picterra and ArcGIS integration. And just before we go into the demo and the walkthrough, I just want to describe potentially the process and how you might use the possible ways of kind of utilizing the two softwares together. So typically when you start in this workflow, you will bring in your Earth observation data. So whether it be kind of your aerial or satellite or drone imagery, this comes in to the platform, and there's multiple ways in which you can add it into the platform. So that there's options which you can directly upload it into Picterra, or you can upload it through the ArcGIS add-in itself as well. So there's multiple options, and you can connect to things like XYZ and WMS servers as well, which I'll be showing you on the walkthrough. From there, you'd want to you'd move on to creating some training data. And you can either create your annotations within Pro and upload them to Picterra, or annotate within Picterra, and it completely depends on your preferences. So, yes, so using these annotations that you created either within ArcGIS Pro itself or within the Picterra application, you can then use these to create, train, and iterate your models within Picterra to get them ready for production level. Once you're happy with the accuracy and the performance of the model, then again, you have the preference and the choice of either using the Picterra UI or the ArcGIS Pro add-in to run these models at scale. Now, for the purpose of this, if you use the add-in, then the results can be directly saved into your current ArcGIS project that you're working on. And then from there, you can utilize them within the rest of the ArcGIS system, which you can kind of see on the right there. And just to give you an idea of how kind of some of our customers at the moment are incorporating this into their overall workflow, we have customers who kind of who have asset management workflows where they need to assign certain objects that they've detected with using kind of the Picterra algorithm, which they then assign to the workers who are out in the field using field maps per se. Or perhaps you want to showcase your project findings to the public in an interactive manner by embedding them into a story map. So you really have the flexibility to use any of the ArcGIS system and incorporate it in however you like. Now I'm going to switch over to the tour that we have of the Picterra platform. So if you're familiar with the way that ArcGIS Pro works, then you'll know how to create annotations within there. So for this purpose, I'm going to show you how to go through the process of creating annotations, training your model, and then connecting to the add-in via this tool within the Picterra UI. The first thing that you'll see here is the Picterra projects page. So if you cast your eyes up into the top left, you've got your projects tab. And this is where you have all of your projects listed out, as I mentioned, kind of in one place, and you can search through them and organize all of your data per project. So What I'll be showing you on the next slide in a minute is within one of these projects, you'll find all of the imagery that's related to that specific project. You might also see a detectors tab up here, and the detectors in Picterra speak is your machine learning models. So if I refer to detectors at any point, that relates to a machine learning model. So once you open up one of these projects, this is the screen that you'll see. And as you can see, within this buildings project, I've got 4 different images. And within each of these images, as I mentioned, these can be either drone, satellite, or aerial, any sort of top-down imagery that you might have. You can upload these either directly from kind of the files on your computer. You can connect to an imagery server, so WMS or XYZ, or you can import from a public URL. And this is how you would get it into Picterra, but you can also upload it directly from the add-in as well, and the API will connect it across and upload it in as well. Once you have your imagery in the platform, you get the option to view the sort of metadata behind it. So you can see whether it's been georeferenced, you can see the resolution, and just to note here that we do support multispectral imagery as well. So if your image is multispectral and you've uploaded it as such, you'll see that down here it says yes. And next to that in the platform, you can also edit the band ranges. So you have the flexibility to change how it is viewed when you're actually working on it as well. Now, as I mentioned, we've got your detectors tab as well. And this is your machine learning models. So each one of these models that you see on this screen relates to a different project, or it might be that you're using one detector, one model on several different projects. So these can be used across any sort of project that has similar imagery or similar objects that you're looking to detect. And just to give you an idea, and perhaps fairly self-explanatory, but within each one of these cards, you've got the accuracy of the model, you've got the time that it was last trained, and you've got the number of classes that, or the classes that are included within the model itself. You can also tell if the model is shared with your organization, and this is the screen that you'll do that from as well. So the 3 little dots will give you a drop down that allows you to share it with either individuals in your organization or with the whole organization itself. Now, the screen is showing you the UI for creating new models. So in this scenario, I've created a new model. I haven't added any annotations yet. I've included the imagery, which you can see in the background. And in this scenario, we are doing a use case on deforestation around palm trees. So the customer in this scenario was looking at their supply chains. They wanted to make sure that the deforestation and kind of the natural tree forest was sustainable, and they weren't going to be in any trouble with their regulatory sort of reports and that sort of nature. So your first step when you're creating a model is to create a training area. And as you can see, this yellow-orange box is what we call a training area. And this is used to, in the kind of name, train your model. So everything within this area here, the model is learning and understanding what it should be picking up and what it shouldn't be picking up. So in this scenario, you can see on the right, we've got the palm oil plantation, and on the left, we've got our natural tree forest cover. And what we want to do is build a model that will detect both types of tree, both types of land segmentation. So in this case, we're using a land segmentation model, but as I mentioned, you can also do object detection as well. So the next important step is to annotate everything within inside that training area. So if we just click next, you can see on the left here on the toolbar, you have 2 options when it comes to annotating within Picterra. You can either choose the polygons option or the circle option. Now, obviously for this scenario, we're going to use the polygons because they're not perfect circles. So choosing the polygon will allow me to draw shapes with irregular sides and capture the full extent of the objects within this training area. And what's really important is that you capture everything that needs to be captured within that training area, because the model is also learning off the background. So if there's a part of natural forest that you haven't captured, for example, then the model will be getting confused because it's thinking that that is something that it shouldn't pick up. So as you can see, I've annotated both the palm oil in orange and the natural tree forest in red. And like I said, it's important that you get every single part of that covered. What you would do in a kind of production environment, so obviously we're going through this in a very sort of step-by-step manner, but when you build out your production model, you will have training areas that are representative of the whole image. So you don't need to put a training area over the whole image. You just need to have separate training areas and separate boxes that cover a good representation of the entire image, just to give the model enough background information to produce a good enough model to get you results across the whole image. Next step, and this is how we get our accuracy score, is in the name to draw an accuracy area. And as you can see in blue, I've drawn this box here. And similarly to the training area, you're going to be annotating everything within inside that box. And that is what gives you your ground truth. That is what you're giving to the model as the ground truth. So when you eventually train your model, it will return results on top of these annotations, and that's how you get your accuracy score. So again, what I'm going to do is, with the same tools, annotate everything within the accuracy area. And similarly to the training area, I also want to have a good representation of these across the whole image, so that you know that you've got a reliable accuracy score. You can make sure that it's representative of everything that you see. Finally, we have one more area, and this is the training area, the testing area in red. And this is an area where you use to kind of see how your model is performing at a larger scale without needing to annotate everything. So within this area, you don't need to annotate anything. It will just return results. So as you're iterating your model and making it better, you can see kind of at a bit larger scale how well it's performing, and also where you need to help the model out as well. So if you can see that, for example, in this bottom right corner, it's really struggling, it's picking it up as it shouldn't, then you know that it doesn't have enough information on that similar type of sort of image, that part of the image. Once you have these three things, what you can do is click next, and you're ready to train your detector. Now, like I mentioned, this is just for demo purposes, and what you would do for the production model is have a few more training and accuracy areas spread across the image. But what you do, click train detector. As you can see, the training is in progress. Once it's completed, you'll get an accuracy score. And as you can see, this is a separate model that I created on the same image. And you can see I've got training areas here, here, and up here. And likewise, there are accuracy areas around the image as well. So it gives a representation of the whole image, and this accuracy score can be reliable. Now, as I mentioned previously, you can create these annotations within ArcGIS Pro as well and import them in. So there's two arrows on the left-hand side toolbar here. This will allow you to import your annotations into the image, and this just comes down to preference of whether you prefer to annotate within ArcGIS Pro or you prefer to annotate within Picterra. You can also set the boundaries for training, accuracy, and testing areas as well. So you can have complete control to upload and import these into the platform. Finally, just to mention, penultimately, just to mention, you have the ability to collaborate within Picterra. So if you have, for example, 3 of you on your team that are all working on the same detector or the same model, and you also need to be annotating at the same time, then you can log in and you can see who is working on that model at that specific time. So as you can see in the top right here, there are 3 people working on this model. And you will also see, as you can see, Frank's name in the middle, their arrows moving around as well as their names. So it just gives you the flexibility to know what's going on in real time and also talk to each other using the flag method as well. So you can have a conversation about whether certain areas need to be checked or not. Finally, once you're happy with your model and it's production level and you're ready to put it out and use it at scale, and you want to use it at scale within the ArcGIS add-in, then you need to generate an API key. And what you do is come to the little man, the little spaceman in the top right corner. This will give you this drop down here. So as you can see, I've got a number of admin tabs here. And what you want to click on is the Manage API Keys in this section. From there, it will open up your API key management, and you can create a new API key. This will give you a code roughly this long, which you will then be using in your ArcGIS add-in, which I'm just about to show you. So from there, all you need to do, copy this, and then come across to ArcGIS Pro and paste it into the relevant tab. And with that, that is the end of the tour of the Picterra platform. And I will now be moving over to ArcGIS Pro to show you how to use it at scale within ArcGIS Pro. So the first thing you'll do once you've downloaded your ArcGIS add-in, you'll notice that there are slight changes to the ribbon at the top. So the first thing you'll see up here is that you've got a new Picterra tab. This shows you 5 different sort of buttons that you can click on. The first being the settings. This is where you're going to upload your API key. Next is the folders. And this is the folders that you have set within your Picterra account, within your Picterra sort of UI. You've got your rasters. So this is all of the imagery within each of those folders, depending on which one you want to go into. And this is also where you would upload your imagery if you were doing it directly into ArcGIS Pro. You can upload it directly to Picterra as well. You have a list of all of your detectors. So this is all of the detectors within your account. So then you're choosing which one you want to run on your imagery. And finally, the results tab. So you can see which of your detectors are currently running and which ones have completed and which ones you can add directly to your map. You might also notice at the bottom down here, you have these 5 tabs that will stay permanently on this bottom left. So as I just mentioned, these relate to the ones at the top. So we'll go through in order and you can see how they work. Firstly, you have your Picterra settings. And as you can see, this space up here is for your API key. So if you remember, you come across from the Picterra UI, you copy your API key there and paste it into this settings tab here. Once you click save, that will sync across and give you access to all of your information within your Picterra account. Now, if you are an organization who wants to work in a way that you have sort of lots of models that are production ready and people want to use, then you have the API key, which would give people access to your predefined models that are production ready, they're happy, and people can just come into ArcGIS Pro and run these on their imagery. Now, the next tab is your folders. So as I mentioned, this is where all of your projects show up from within your Picterra UI. So I've got 5 that you can see in here. And this is just another way of managing and then making sure that you can easily access and search through the specific projects that you're working on during that session. So for this example, we're going to be opening up Webinar. And this will automatically push me across to the Rasters tab. Now, there is a couple of different buttons on here that I want to talk through. So in this scenario, I've got the ability to upload new rasters. So if I was to click on this, it would open up my personal folders. And from there, I can upload rasters directly within Pro. And this will sync using the API across to the Picterra platform. So there's no need to go into Picterra platform as well and upload them there. So it's just hopefully streamlining the process for you as well. You also have the ability to upload a detection area. And a detection area is a polygon that will sit on top of your raster image and tell the detector where to run. So if we take the example of this image on the right, there's a lot of background, well, black area that I'm not interested in, that it might be that the image, the way the raster was processed, currently the detector would be running on. So if I had a polygon that was covering just the outside of the actual image, the outside of the forest area, I could upload them as a detection area, and that's telling the model not to run on anything outside of that. So then reduces the time taken to get your results from the model. And sometimes it reduces, if this was more forest but you're not interested, it could just reduce false positives as well. So once you're happy with the rasters that you have in your folder here, and you already have your production detector from the platform, what you do is click on one of these. It highlights as blue, and just to say that you can click on as many as you want in here as well, so you can run the detector on multiple rasters. It's not just a single raster, but for this scenario I'll be just running it on this one at the top. I come across to my detectors tab, and you can see my list of detectors. And next to each one of these, at the moment, it says detect on selected rasters, in brackets 1. So I know that I've selected my raster in the previous tab, and now I'm going to use this detector or this model to run on top of it. So if I click that, you'll get a little pop-up to say that the detector is running. And that just means that the API has fed that information back to Picterra, because all of the processing power is done on the Picterra side, so there's no extra burden on your hardware or anything like that. So that's just telling me that's running now. And if I come to the results tab, I can see that it's whirring away. And if I was to look into Picterra as well, it would also be telling me that it's in process of detecting. Once it's ready, this will turn to true, and you'll get a little button that says add to map. This will then, once you select add to map, it will ask you to save it to your machine, so you have kind of an offline copy of it. And once you do that, it will automatically upload it to your contents tab. So the purpose of this demo, this is one I did earlier. And in this scenario, as I mentioned, it would detecting natural tree cover and palm oil. So the palm oil being over here in the light orange, and the natural tree cover being in the light green. In this scenario, they actually had 3 different images that they were looking at to understand the change over time and really monitor which areas, for example, like this, had been cut down but hadn't been planted yet. So they were understanding how much of the natural forest was being taken down and how much was actually should be taken down as part of their sustainability practice. With that, I'm going to flip back over to the presentation. And come on to why choosing Picterra. So, why choose Picterra and utilize the add-in as part of your Esri ecosystem? Well, as Monica mentioned at the start, we are an Esri Silver partner, which means that we work closely, and this results in a very complementary set of capabilities that provide our joint customers the best solution possible. And that leads me on to the first point on my slide. And so, as you've seen sort of in my presentation, you can create custom machine learning models without the need to hard code. And that is an important gap in the ML, AI, Geo AI space that Picterra really excels in, and where we can help you to really level up your work as well. And I think specifically with the add-in, you can bring this into your ArcGIS ecosystem and kind of improve on any of the workflows that you currently have. And just to mention that through the advanced settings as well within Picterra, you also have the ability to adjust the model parameters. So for those that have the deep learning knowledge, you have the ability to change things such as the backbone and some background sample ratio, things like that as well, you have the ability to modify. Moving on to the second bubble, by utilizing the add-in for ArcGIS Pro, you can streamline and simplify your workflow, and it really reduces the requirement to switch between different bits of software. And I hope showing the process at scale, so once you have your detectors and you've created your production-ready detectors, by utilizing the add-in, you can do your whole workflow within ArcGIS Pro from kind of start to finish. And it really allows you to easily maintain and curate all of your machine learning models and Earth observation data in one place as well, so you can manage it within those different projects that I showed you. And that kind of leads you to building up this library of pre-built detectors that you can run at scale within your ArcGIS system. So obviously, like I mentioned, you can share these with multiple people within different teams and multiple people throughout the organization, and curate these so that you have these sort of authorized pre-production, so pre-built models that are ready to go at a moment's notice. And I think I mentioned it, but important to note that running at scale is also done on the Picterra side, so there's no hardware implications to consider either, and allows you to not have to worry about that on the IT side. So how can you get your hands on the add-in? Well, there is a QR code on the screen at the moment, which will take you through to the Esri Marketplace. And we will be providing this slide afterwards, so you can access it through there as well. And if you aren't a Picterra customer yet, then you can sign up for our free trial, which gives you access to the API and the ability to use the add-in, so you can test it out and see how you feel with it as well. And finally, a quick mention of what the dev team are working on at the moment. So in the upcoming releases, we are working on a direct connection to ArcGIS Image Server, and including ArcGIS Image Online, and that will just allow you to access your EO data and share it across the two different platforms even easier than you can at the moment. And I believe that is everything from me, so I should pass back over to Monica.
Thank you, Luke. Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation, and thank you to everybody for the questions that you submitted in the chat to me. So there's quite a few of them. I think we will be able to come, and I'll be able to ask Luke at least a few of them. So let me get to it just to make sure we don't run out of time. So there is a question, for example, around can we work in a hybrid way with some of the team using the ArcGIS plugin and some the Picterra UI?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of the operations you do through the plugins are visible within Picterra. So you can also have some of your people and some of your team training models on Picterra, and then kind of making them available through the plugin to the wider team. And as I mentioned, with the collaboration tool as well, within actually creating the models, you can see each other annotating and training the models as you go.
Okay. Thank you. So I think there were quite a few people that were asking generally questions about how long does it take to create a model on Picterra? How long does it take to train? Let me just see if there's any specifics. So train a model, do the actual detection. Are we speaking about minutes, hours, or days?
Yeah, so if I tackle creating first, and this obviously comes down to the complexity of the object or the land that you're looking to detect, but typically we see that our customers will be creating production ready models somewhere between 2 days and a week, pushing to a week and a half if it's a really complex project. So that's roughly the amount of time you're looking to create the annotations, train the model, iterate it, make it better, and push it out to production. And that probably gives you an indication of roughly how long it takes to train. But looking at, for example, that image I had there, you'd be looking at 5 minutes for it to train. And if you have a larger image with more megapixels, then it's going to take slightly longer. But typically on a model, just to give you a reference, that image that I had, probably about 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Luke. We also had some questions around accuracy. So there's one about, if supposing that we have a good geo-referenced image, what's the accuracy of your AI model? So to distinguish the type of area of a tree. So I mean, maybe you can comment a little bit about, you know, achieving the accuracy 95% or more. I mean, anything that comes to that area as well.
Yeah, so with your accuracy areas, you need to make sure that you're giving the model enough ground truth to be representative of the whole area. So when it comes to actually training the model, it's important to be robust, and the accuracy score you get is actually representative, because you could draw one accuracy area and it'd be perfect, and then that's not really telling you anything. So it's important to both be robust about how you're training the model, but also how you're producing your accuracy scores as well. I don't know if that answered the question, but if it didn't, then we can always get back to you afterwards. Or yeah.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, it's always difficult to be cut on the spot, right? I think we've got quite a few of those technical questions. Maybe I'll pick one more, and then if we don't get to all of them, we're going to answer you anyway after the session. So if we add additional features, for example, NDVI, will it make better results? Is there an option to create such features on Picterra platform? So I guess we could talk about, you know, maybe the use cases around vegetation and potentially our advanced tools. You can feel free to give a sneak peek.
Yeah, absolutely. So we support multiband imagery. So if you were to stack the NDVI on top of, say, RGB, or if you just wanted to use the NDVI, then you can create models on both, and the model will be looking at every single band within the imagery that you upload. So if there is a useful difference and representation in that NDVI band, then the model will be picking up on it as well.
Okay. Another technical one. Can Picterra models be used on multiple different raster data sets, for example, from different geographic areas or from different times?
Yes, absolutely. So you can run your models across different rasters. It comes down to making sure that the model has enough information, or has been trained on enough information that is representative of that image. So if you were planning to, I don't know, run it on, you'd only trained it on plastics in the ocean, and then you wanted to train it on plastics on the beach, there's very different background imagery there, so you might struggle. So what you'd want to do is then add some training areas of plastics on the beach to make sure it's robust enough to be able to perform across both.
Thank you, Luke. I think maybe it's worth also to ask this one. So this is just around generally, I mean, since the Picterra ArcGIS is built on the API, what are other API functionalities that we can offer?
Yeah, so we have a whole Picterra Python library available, so we can send out the link after as well. And that includes an API reference and user guide. So there's a host of different capabilities within there. So if you're inclined to, or you want to improve or sort of work on top of the API that we have out of the box, then you are more than welcome to do so.
Perfect. I think actually we've reached the time. I've got plenty more questions here. I'm sorry we're not going to be able to come to answer all of them live, but please rest assured that we will come back to you afterwards. There was, I think I also had a couple of questions about whether the recording of the session and the slides will be available. They will be. So after we kind of process the video, we will share it. We'll send you an email with all the details. And also as part of the email, there's going to be, we are including this kind of an offline self-served click-through tour that also shows the different functionalities of our add-in that Luke was presenting today live. So I also invite you to give it a try. And if there are any questions, if you would like to stay in touch with us, or if you want to dive deeper into any of the aspects of using the add-in, we are more than happy to help you out and answer your questions. So I think it's been really great. Thank you very much for your engagement. I have to say I had a bit of a tough time to sift through all the questions that came in, so apologies that not everybody was answered, but we get to it for sure. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Luke.
Thanks, everyone.